Myanmar opposition leader Aung San Suu Kyi said today that she would be, quote, above the president if her party wins a historic election on November 8. The statement places her at odds with the country's military, which drafted a 2008 constitution to preserve its power and effectively exclude her from leading. I-24 News correspondent Ayman Sikseck has the details.
Myanmar will conduct general elections on Sunday for the first time since 2011, when the military-backed Union Solidarity and Development Party came to power. But the upcoming election is historic given the potential victory of Aung San Suu Kyi. Myanmar's opposition leader said Thursday she would be, quote, above the president if her National League for Democracy wins the vote.
I've not said we're going to win. I've said if we are win and the NLD forms a government, I will be above the president. It's a very simple message.
Suu Kyi's NLD party won a landslide in the last open election in 1990, but the victory was ignored by the ruling junta. 1 year later, in 1991, Myanmar's opposition leader won the Nobel Peace Prize. But in her homeland, she remained under house arrest for the better part of the next 20 years. Her release in 2002 saw her mobbed by scores of supporters. She was freed after intense international pressure. Her run for power in Myanmar has been welcomed by European leaders as well as the White House.
For a stronger rule of law, for elections that are free, fair, and inclusive, and for continued constitutional changes that will move Burma more fully towards a civilian government.
But Suu Kyi still faces obstacles brought on by years of military rule and cultural tradition. Women hold only 6% of seats in Myanmar's national parliament, less than in any other Southeast Asian country. And in this election, 800 women are running, making up 13% of the total number of candidates. And human rights are a staple of the NLD ideology. And in Myanmar, ending the persecution of the Rohingya Muslims is a priority for Suu Kyi.
I would promise everybody who is living in this country proper protection in accordance with the law and in accordance with the norms of human rights.
Though the leader has not yet made her support of the Rohingya minority clear, her inclusive and peacemaking rhetoric has sparked hope among Myanmar's 1.3 million Muslims that their plight might soon be addressed if Suu Kyi comes to power this Sunday.
And with me here to understand a little bit more about the woman who's leading the opposition is Ayman Sikseck, I-24 News correspondent. Good evening.
Good evening, Lucy.
Today we learned a new name, and the name is Aung San Suu Kyi.
Yes.
And who is she?
Well, she made history previously in 1990 when the first multi-party elections were held in Myanmar. That's after 30 years of military rule there, in which no other parties were allowed to participate in free elections. She won by a landslide back then, but the junta, as you know, annulled her victory and kept her under house arrest for the better part of 20 years. She was in and out of house arrest, and they told her several times to leave Myanmar and be free of house arrest, but she refused. She stayed in Myanmar in her homeland, and now she's hoping to make history again. And as you heard, she made a very, very controversial statement.
Yes.
She said she would be above the president if she's elected. Now, of course, she's not running for president.
But this is some kind of a threat, because if you're running and you are probably you want to win, you are starting to gather some enemies before you were elected.
Well, analysts are saying that people love her so much that she's trying to give them the impression that if they vote for her party, it's a personal vote for her. So if you want to see me leading this party as the majority in the government, you have to vote for me. But not only does the Constitution not allow the person winning in the elections to become president, she specifically is barred from ever becoming president because she has 2 British children. Her late husband was British, and in Myanmar, the law says that if you have children with foreign nationalities, you can never become president.
And this law was what? Was actually made especially for her?
Well, no, because of the way that Myanmar was under military control for many, many years, there are still several laws that limit freedoms. The Rohingya Muslims, which we talked about in the piece, they still cannot vote. That's over 1.3 million people who ironically depend on her. They want her to win because she's the one talking about including every part of society, keeping them safe from persecution, but they can't vote for her. They can never run for parliament. They still want to see her win. But Myanmar is still dealing with a lot of rules that remain from the junta and military rule that still limit a lot of liberties.
The social climax of, or the climate, I'm sorry, of Myanmar is very interesting as well, because if we're looking also about not only people from different religions, and especially the Muslim religion there, and the Muslim minority there is actually haunted.
It's haunted. It's been haunted for many, many years, persecuted politically, militarily, and they have been marginalized by the extremist Buddhist society there. This is a combination of words that we're not used to hearing, extremist and Buddhist, but it does happen. And that's why Barack Obama is supporting her. As you know, Barack Obama is interested in the U.S. making connections and really associating itself with other supposedly democratic governments around the world. That's why he's doing the same with Cuba and establishing relations for the U.S. And he's hoping to see Aung San Suu Kyi rise in Myanmar, as are many, many others.
Myanmar and the Middle East is not that important. Of course. Myanmar, Middle East.
Well, we have Kerry on our side.
Yes, of course, the most important thing. Ayman Sikseck, thank you very much for this.
Thank you, Lucy.